The Chicago's World Fair was one of the most significant events in the history of America due to the impactful nature of the architecture, exhibits, and general influence on both American people and countries around the world.
The world's Columbian Exposition glamorized all aspects of the city of Chicago, but without the leaders that funded it, it would not have been as successful as it was. On July 22, 1889, directed by the Chicago City Council, Mayor DeWitt C. Frazier appointed a group of 100 citizens to contribute to creating the fair. The committee contained business leaders such as bank president Lyman Gage, publisher Andrew McNally, railroad tycoon George Pullman, and J.P. Morgan assistant Charles Schwab, who all helped raise $5 million in stock to prove to the House of Representatives their support in this project. Among the other potential cities like St. Louis, New York, and Washington, D.C., the House chose Chicago, but adding that the city had to raise an additional $5 million. The list of supporters kept growing, with strong and influential leaders such as G.B. Shaw, president of the American Loan and Trust Company, W.E. Hale, president of the Hale Elevator Company, O.W. Potter, president of the Illinois Steel Company, and Potter Palmer, real estate agent and owner of the Palmer House Hotel. With big-name leaders fundraising the fair, a capitalistic bias began to form on who and what would be at the Columbian Exposition. At this time, the leaders' fundraising did not show a real representation of what America was, considering the majority of the population were not big company owners. They were the working class, the ones working for these company owners, which is what introduced a change in the fair. Representatives from the AFL, Knights of Labor Memorial, IWW, Molly Maguire, and the Women's Rights set up political booths embodying the class.
The Chicago World's Fair brought many new inventions to the world.
These include, but are not limited to, the zipper, Ferris wheel, Wrigley's gum, and the automatic dishwasher.
Aunt Jemima pancake mix was one of the many new inventions that rose to popularity during the time. It was started by Chris L. Rutt and Charles G. Underwood. They started the Pro Milling Company, and the idea of ready-mix pancakes was fascinating to them. Unfortunately, they went bankrupt in 1890 and had to sell the formula to the R.T. Davis Milling Company. William Wrigley started the Wrigley Gum Company, and it was an instant success. He started out selling baking soda that came with free gum, but then soon realized that gum was actually more popular than baking soda. Gum was not a new invention. Wrigley marketing revolutionized the industry. The Chicago World's Fair was created to be better than the Paris World's Fair in 1889. They wanted to have something that was better than the Eiffel Tower showcase back then, so they commissioned George W. Ferris to build something. He invented the Ferris wheel. The Ferris wheel was originally very slow to catch on, but many people flocked to it once they heard that it gave a magnificent view of the White City. One last very popular invention that is still used today by many people is the automatic dishwasher, created by Josephine Cochran. Though it worked, it was only used by hotels and large restaurants early on. It was not until the 1950s that it was sold to the general public, which would later lead to the integration to fully electrical kitchens.
The advertisements for these products were less illustrated and colorful than modern ages in most cases, and they include more written information. Many of the ads were lithograph advertisements, a printing press product. Many of the ads seemed to very purposefully and noticeably draw attention from a specific audience or interest, such as Wrigley's poster using the phrase "after every smoke" bolded in at the bottom of the page.
The Columbian World's Fair truly encompassed the genius of the time.
An equally impressive part of the exposition was the architecture. The majority of it was based off a neoclassical design. However, there are many other styles, including that of Art Deco, which would eventually become more popular in the 1920s and 30s. The lead designers of the fair were Daniel Burnham and Frederick Homestead. They made it their goal to make the architecture itself be as impressive as the things they held. More than 15 main exhibition buildings, a different firm was employed for every building, getting architects from all over the country. They came from cities such as Boston and New York, and even Kansas City. The fair truly inhibited creative and architectural genius. For example, the Manufacturer Building, which was designed by George Post in New York, was the world's largest building at the time. It was more than 1 million square feet and held over 300,000 people. Or take a look at the Fishery Building. Inside, it featured many large aquariums, including saltwater ones. Some of the water for the tanks were actually brought in all the way from the Atlantic Ocean. The World's Fair of 1893 was truly a marvel through and through. Unfortunately, however, due to the circumstances of the fair, most buildings were built only as temporary structures. They had planned to rebuild some of the exteriors to transform these structures into more permanent ones. However, a fire in 1894 burned down a majority of the White City. Today, the Palace of Fine Arts is the only major building remaining from the fair. Most of you may know it as the Museum of Science and Industry. As interesting as the outsides were, the interior was just as important.
The exhibits contained inside these eloquent buildings were just as well thought out. Each building had its own topic, ranging anywhere from agriculture to transportation. Every housing contained countries and companies from all over the world, showing off their progressive new ideas through wondrous exhibits. The massive manufacturing building housed exhibits of American companies amongst the incredible manufacturing showings of other countries. And these impressive displays of engineering advanced America's manufacturing prowess in the eyes of international viewers. The impact on the American people was also massively important to getting them to accept the industrialization of the future. The electrical building had a huge impact on American view on electricity. Because electricity was not common at the time, when people saw how different ways it could be used, they were amazed. The vibrantly illuminated building contained electrical advances, such as a kitchen filled with electrical appliances, and Americans saw these positive ways that it could be used to affect their lives, so they embraced it, which was a huge step in advancing America in a scientific and technological way. Everyone loved the fair. Millions of people attended it when it was open, and it had an impact on all of them. Chicago rose out of the flames of the fire and advanced American culture and technology, while at the same time enhancing America's reputation amongst other countries. New products such as the Juicy Fruit gum and electrical kitchen appliances had a massive impact, as these products are still being used today. All in all, the fair was wildly successful, and we are still feeling the aftermath today.